Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Craig Blanchett, and I'm the lifestyle coach. It's my pleasure to bring you the Crave Optimal Health podcast. For those of you that are watching live, we're going to be going through Chapter 6 in Dr. A's Habits of Health. So we're pretty excited about that. For those of you that are listening to this on podcast, we're going through Chapter 6 today. It's your blueprint for safe, rapid weight loss. And this episode will be about 30 minutes long, and we're covering every week we cover a chapter of Dr. A's books. And since this is the 6th week of the year, we are going through Chapter 6 today. And so this is going to be a little bit of a dog pile today as we go through this, where we're all going to be joining in and kind of having a group discussion. But one of the things I want to let you know that you can actually find this particular podcast online. If you go to your favorite podcast player and you type in search for Crave Optimal Health, you can actually Google Crave Optimal Health podcast, and you'll be able to find the link to subscribe. So for those of you that are joining us live, you can subscribe to that, and that will come up a little bit later as to one of the ways that you can utilize this to help other people. But I'm going to go ahead and open it up for the rest of the gang here. We got quite a few folks joining us this morning. And if you can start your video, that would be great so we can see everyone's faces. But the premise of this particular chapter, I'm going to just kind of launch it out and give an overview. And then I'd just like you guys to, if you've got something you want to say, you can raise your hand and I can call on you, or you can just unmute your mic and dog pile in. But it's page 59 of Dr. A's Habits of Health. And essentially what this is talking about, we had a great presentation by Daniela actually on Saturday where she was talking about her and Nick. We're talking about how to control our blood sugars. I'm going to share a little screen here so that you guys can actually see what I'm talking about when it comes to blood sugars, and how when we are controlling our blood sugars, it's primarily controlled by what we eat. And so this is the chapter here, and as I scroll through this is the graphic that I wanted to focus in on today. And so you've got the insulin glucose response curve. And so this is kind of the mastermind secret behind how you can have not only safe weight loss, but rapid weight loss. I don't know if you guys have thought about that. You can have rapid weight loss that's unsafe. Oftentimes, actually, gastric bypass is very unsafe, oddly enough. Even though it's common, it's unsafe. Another strange way to think about weight loss is if you could lose weight by losing a limb. That's not safe at all, but it's very rapid, right? So there's the extremes. And then you can have safe weight loss that's very, very slow, sometimes so slow that you quit. So it's temporary, right? Sometimes you're on exercise programs and it's just so hard to actually make any progress. So when we're talking about safe and rapid together, we're talking about blood sugar. And so this is a diagram here of the insulin response curve. When you have something that has high carbohydrates or high glycemic index, and glycemic index is directly related to how much sugar is in something and how much fiber is in that. So you may not think about this when people say, I'm trying to cut out all my sugars. I wonder if what that person is thinking in their mind is refined sugar, or I wonder if they're thinking of pineapple and blueberries and bananas, things like that, honeydew melon. I doubt they would be thinking that. They're thinking cookies and Snickers and Skittles and things like that, right? But you see on the very first line there, orange juice. Now, who here used to think orange juice was healthy for you? I mean, it has vitamin C in it. It comes from oranges. We're not hating on the oranges today, but think about that. Orange juice is basically all the yummy, sweet parts of the orange taken out, and they remove all of the fiber, or and some all of it, sometimes some of the fiber. And then all you have left is the sweet part, which is pure sugar, right? So that's going to raise your blood sugar very quickly, causing your insulin levels to rise. And then the problem with rapid blood sugar rising is that it falls just as rapidly. And so you can see that blue line there going up and down, up and down, up and down. The main thing is over your full day is your insulin levels are elevated, leading to eventually that's some of the causes for diabetes. It's because your pancreas just gets worn out and shuts down. So that's the premise of our chapter here. And then we're going to go through and talk about what is a good insulin. And so this is low GI, that stands for glycemic index, low glycemic breakfast. You can see that blue line there in contrast from the last one. It rises kind of slowly, doesn't go nearly as high, and it's very rounded at the top. So you stay satisfied for a longer period of time, and then it stops to drop down. But you notice that it goes above the white line and then below the white line and then above and below. But the most important piece here that I want you to is the red dotted line. That red dotted line is going above the base insulin, baseline insulin, and then it drops down, and then it goes up, and then it goes down. So it's not staying elevated all day long, leading to chronic inflammation and weight gain and fat storage and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the premise here. We have different ways that we can do it, but that's essentially what this chapter is covering. And so I want to toss it out to you guys, and we'll just kind of kick this around. One of the things as health coaches, we deploy a specific strategy called the 5-in-1, which is 5 low glycemic fuelings about every 2 to 3 hours throughout the day. And then one, what we call lean and green meal, which is a larger meal at one of those intervals, breakfast, lunch, or dinner sometime. And so you eat 6 times a day. And so we often refer to that as the 5-in-1. But this is actually what's happening inside your body. So who wants to jump in and comment on that? Betsy? Hi, Betsy. You want me to unmute you? I
got it.
You're live. Yep.
Okay. Dr. Carulli, Nick, and Daniela did a great job at the event, and they brought in their son, who is healthy. And, you know, by most of us looking at him, he's healthy. And he was pretty much the 3-meal-a-day type person, even though they were healthy meals. And he kind of gave that example of, you know, eating healthy, and then with his insulin, you know, helping him digest the food, then he crashed because he didn't have any food to kind of pick him back up again. And when he added that little healthy snack in between his meals, I mean, he as a young man just said he couldn't believe the difference in his feeling, his strength, his ability to function during the day. And I think that's one of the things that this program is so great about is training us to understand that, yeah, you can lower your insulin response by eating healthy, but still a bigger part of the picture is keeping your insulin, as Craig said, from dropping down, which can also happen if you're eating healthy, if you're not eating often enough. That's it.
I had to unmute myself. I think there was a study done by the University of Toronto where they took the same exact groceries, stuck them in a big pile, and one group separated them into 3 different piles, and the other group separated them into 6 different piles. It was all the exact same food. And just the frequency of the fuelings helped to keep that blood sugar more balanced and consistent, and you didn't have the big drops and the big spikes. And they had people that lost more weight, had more consistent energy, better sleep, a lot of different byproducts, and they were eating the same exact thing. So I thought that was really powerful stuff. Who else wants to has had experience with the 2? Have you guys had experience with the old style of eating, which is coffee, vitamin C, coffee in the morning, and then, vitamin C, coffee, get it. And then like maybe 2:00 when your stomach grabs your head, puts you in a headlock and says, feed me now. Right. And so then you go grab a big meal, and not only are you biologically hungry, but I believe you are psychologically hungry. You feel pain and you want to feel good. And so you go eat a big meal, and then it's maybe a 6 or 7 o'clock that night where you have 2 big meals a day with some vitamin coffee in the middle. So that's one way of eating. And then if you've experienced the smaller meals throughout the day, how the difference is. Anybody want to comment on the contrast there?
Well, I can.
Hi, Barb.
Hi. And I will use my son as an example, who is a health coach. He's also a master swim coach, does kettlebell training. And so this is a person who could literally consume 6,000 calories a day. And before, embracing this routine of eating 6 times a day, he was angry. He had headaches. He was horrible to try and sometimes deal with, because he would eat massive calories maybe a couple of times a day, and while they were all healthy, because he would not eat anything that was junk, very often anyway. But once he started fueling on a consistent basis, his headaches went away, his attitude and his demeanor changed. So, the health benefits of the fueling, this science of fueling is pervasive over your entire person. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to stress that it's great for weight loss, it's great for weight maintenance, but it's also great for you psychologically and mentally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, you are what you eat, and so it's not only that, but the quality of experience you have through your day happens to be about how you fuel yourself. Who here has here's a question, where you go to a place and you're assuming that you're sort of just gambling with your fuel that day, and they're providing lunch, work's bringing in lunch, and so I hope they have something good, right? And who knows what they have, lasagna, or I don't know, they have something kind of whatever it is, and you're stuck with starving or eating what they provided because you don't have something with you that's convenient, tasty, and healthy, right? So you have one choice to make, and that choice is, well, I'm going to eat what they offered because it smells so good, pizza. Anybody had experiences like that where you go to some event and you just sort of gamble? I hope they have something. Who wants to comment on that?
Well, I'll just jump in since I apparently am a chatterbox today. There's actually someone bringing donuts to our office this morning, so I'm glad I'm kind of tucked away here. But I've had I've had my fueling, so I'm, number one, not hungry, and then the other thing too is that I think about how I'm going to feel after I've eaten that sugar bomb. Mm-hmm. And it makes it easier, not always successful, but it does make it a little bit easier for me to just bypass that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're inundated with this like almost on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Sugar bomb. I love that. By the way, speaking of sugar bomb, king cake, Lorraine. And I just learned last year when I roomed with somebody from Louisiana, and they told me what king cake was. But do you mind unmuting yourself and telling us a little bit about, because it's kind of a phenomenon. It's like a thing. Or I'll unmute you. I'll get you. There you go. Now you're going.
We're in Mardi Gras season right now. Parades are starting, and it all falls it has to do with after Christmas, and then we go into, what is it, Lent? We're in Lent now, and the king cake is a celebration of what was it, the Three Kings or whatever. But anyway, you know, Louisiana, we've got to make everything about food. And I do have to say that we are spoiled. We're spoiled. We have some really, really delicious food here down in the South, and people come down here to eat the food. But we have a celebration for everything, and it always revolves around food. And the big thing this year, you know, this time of year is the king cake, and it's a dough that's just nothing but sugar, but it's the Mardi Gras color sugar all on top. And they sometimes stuff it with cream cheese or with jellies but the thing is, there's a baby that you hide inside, and people cut the king cake, and whoever gets the baby and the piece of king cake gets the next party. So that's a big thing right now. Everybody's got king cakes and, you know, cinnamon swirl, sugar, cream cheese, what else? Blueberry, you know, I mean, it's just huge. You want to talk about an insulin rush and then a drop. It's that, you know.
Yeah. Thanks, Lorraine. Didn't they?
I'll have to get a picture and show and
Don't,
post.
and don't they hide like a little like trinket inside? There's like a plastic baby Jesus or something in there.
It's just a plastic baby.
Yeah.
And whoever gets the baby in their king cake, if they don't swallow it first, has to hold the next king cake party.
Got it. So Martin's going to show
There
us.
you go, Martin. That's it.
That's what a king cake looks like. There you go. Awesome.
So what do you think that does to your insulin?
Yeah, it's going to spike it and then drop it, and then you're going to look for that next piece of king cake, right?
You can't eat just one piece. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Like a Lay's potato chip.
I've never had it myself, so I
Hey,
know.
Craig. Oh,
It looks
excuse
like
me.
there was
Go
bacon
ahead.
in here too.
I just had a quick point that I was thinking about. When I started the program, I thought I was gluten intolerant. I thought I was lactose intolerant because I had a lot of those symptoms. And my coach, Craig Blanchett, said, let's not have you go on the gluten-free program. Let's just have you try the classic program and see how you do with it. And what I thought were gluten issues and lactose issues turned out, I guess maybe unscientifically, to be more nutritional issues, probably dealing with insulin and sugar crashes than it actually did have anything to do with being gluten intolerant and or lactose intolerant. So that was a really eye-opening thing to me, that my responses probably were a lot more to getting too much insulin and my body's reactions to that. And the symptoms are similar.
Yeah. Interesting. That's fascinating. I want to take us all to thank you, Betsy, to page 63 here. And it's the science of 6 fuelings. And so it's just, what are the benefits of eating a small amount of food more often? Preliminary research supports the idea that when the typical 3 squares diet is replaced by smaller, more frequent meals, it can do these positive benefits. It can help you lose weight. So probably everybody, in about 70 to 80% of the America just perked up when I said that first one. Control hunger, yes please. Reduce blood insulin. Well, that's a little technical for some, but basically insulin helps you to get the sugar out of your blood and into your cells. And also blood insulin is a factor in fat storage and internal inflammation. Inflammation's a killer. I mean, literally a killer. It's the number one connector to heart disease. Lower total cholesterol levels, so you can lower your cholesterol levels. Folks that start eating 6 times a day, I noticed. There's some people that are on the line today, Randy and Cheryl, and they had their blood sugar levels taken before they started this eating strategy, and then afterwards. And so I'll probably get them to share a little bit about that. Actually, why don't you jump on right now, Randy? Let me unmute you. Do you mind just talking a little bit, since we're on the cholesterol section there, about how that affected your cholesterol levels?
Well, it was interesting that just prior to starting the program, I had a doctor's visit and had the blood test run, and Cheryl had done it sometime before that, and so we were very curious as to how this last 3 months would have been impacted that. And what we discovered is that as the follow-up and results of the most current one, which was just last week, that using cholesterol as a kind of a benchmark, mine went from 224 to 158, and Cheryl's went from 243 to 209. And the LDLs and HDLs all came down as well, significantly, obviously, to support those changes. So for us, it was a testimony to the change in our lifestyle and our change in eating habits that have really driven that, to see those kinds of results, and especially in such what I consider a fairly short period of time.
Hey, Craig, you're muted.
There you go. I thought I was the one that was possibly causing the feedback, but I think it might be Cheryl's speakers picking up your mic. But anyway, thank you for that, and I appreciate your feedback. And on the cholesterol, it's like, I remember seeing an advertisement for Cheerios, and they said that Cheerios can lower your cholesterol 7 points over a year. And I thought, so you have Cheerios every day for a year, and it will lower your cholesterol 7 points. I'm thinking, that is nothing to brag about. Like, that is horrible. It's 3 months and we're like 60, 70 points. It's unbelievable. So let me finish out this little list here, and then we'll close out. So reduce the bad cholesterol, lower total cholesterol, reduce levels of something that Dr. A says is very bad stuff, apolipoprotein B. So that sounds just bad. Nobody wants that, right? It can depress glucose levels. It increases bile acid secretion, suppresses fatty acid levels, free fatty acid levels, not the costly ones, but the free ones. It will reduce serum uric acid. So these are getting really technical here. A common risk factor in coronary heart disease. So there you go. Who wants coronary heart disease? Increases uric acid excretion. So people that will have issues with gout, that's uric acid buildup. And so it can help with that. Reduce adipose tissue enzyme levels, and then reduce fluctuations in satiety. So I think out of all of those, you're probably your top 3 or 4 there. And that last one is really good. Controls hunger. So it reduces fluctuations in satiety. So those are pretty well related. But I don't know, pretty powerful things of merely, even if you're not necessarily eating really healthy things, just by eating 6 times a day, you can have some of these benefits. Now, if you go one step further and you start to eat low glycemic index things, and you start to learn what that means, then by eating frequently and low glycemic, now you're talking powerful return on that investment. So anyhow, yeah, so as we're closing out here, anybody have a few last minute comments of some things that stood out in the chapter, or your own particular they talk about readying your bedroom, perking up your pantry, kind of preparing yourself for this beginning of getting down to a healthy weight. Also in this chapter, creating a journal on page 69 is really, really effective. But I want to toss it back out to you guys. Do you have anything else you'd like to comment on that you saw a profound change or difference?
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Yeah, hi, Alex.
Cool. So one of the things that I found that is a reason people yo-yo and go back and forth their entire life is they never master blood sugar balancing. They don't understand how what we do in advance is what controls our appetite through the day. And if our blood sugars are out of whack, our levels of cravings are going to go up. And our ability to walk past a food distraction, if you will, is way down when your blood sugar levels aren't balanced, as opposed to when you have your blood sugar levels balanced. Think of it as a shield that's up, and you don't feel the effects of that food kryptonite, staring you in the face as much. It doesn't mean that you're still not going to have a psychological craving towards it, but your ability to fight that off or to refocus is going to be so much higher when your blood sugar levels are balanced. So the proactiveness of this is a big deal. So what I find is that if you can help people not just understand this concept, which isn't just a concept, this is science, but actually learn how to implement the timing of that. And sometimes people aren't good time managers, right? They're not good prep and planners. So there's some work that goes into this, to getting the buy-in to saying, hey, if you could literally be mastery over your appetite and your ability to stay in a healthy, nutrient-full, energetic body, would you want that? And they say, yes. Would you like me to guide you and teach you how to do that? Yes. Just remember that all your teachings aren't going to center around blood sugar balancing. They're going to center around the benefits of it and then how to implement it from a time management. And so they're going to become better at setting alarms and clocks because they're connected to, I'll have the power to walk past those food distractions, and I'll have the power to go to parties, events, soirees, whatever, and I'll have my bubble. I'll have my shield because I've got this. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. It's I don't know if you've ever heard of this idea when I've started working with people. Oh, I have a sweet tooth. Who's heard people say, oh yeah, I have a sweet tooth, right? Or maybe you did. And then after a few weeks of eating this new strategy, their sweet tooth goes away. Like the sweet tooth was a hereditary, you're born with it kind of thing. Like you have brown hair. Oh, I have a sweet tooth. I looked in your mouth. There is no sweet tooth. And so really what a sweet tooth is that someone that doesn't understand the effect blood sugar has, how food is so powerful at affecting blood sugar. For those of you that know Costco, those Costco muffins, like huge, tons of calories, blood sugar, bomb, all that, and it's not so good for you. Diane, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
I did. And this is a real encouragement to everybody because, I think sometimes as health coaches, we kind of have a tendency to target people who are overweight and they look unhealthy. But even as an athlete doing Ironman and 20 marathons, I was pre-diabetic. I wasn't overweight. So once I started eating this way, even as a dietitian, I wasn't even aware of eating 6 times. We were supposed to eat 3 times a day. So now there's none of those pre-diabetic. I mean, I probably still have the tendency, but I don't have, A1C levels that were elevated, and my blood sugars were right on the edge. I had a glucose tolerance test done, and I was right on the edge, and I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? I was like, look at me, I'm healthy. So that's an encouragement to all of you to look outside the box of just people who look overweight or unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Diane. That's great. Kim, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just love information in general. I read a lot of this type of, for 15 years, I read all kinds of diet stuff. I thought I knew everything when I joined this program. And I just think, and I'd actually heard the 6 meals a day and that would help. But knowing something and putting it into action are 2 very different things. And I had gone to a nutritionist, tried to put my mind to this concept of eating 6 times a day. But I could, my example is like, when you buy a tent and you try to get it back into the bag that it came with. I had this concept of meals and I couldn't get them to fit into the number of calories they were supposed to be for 6 times a day and everything. And I also think back to your comment at the beginning, Craig, about, people saying I'm cutting out sugar, but they're not thinking about fruit and everything. I was eating pretty healthy meals. And yet I still was not experiencing success. It was hard for me to shove those bigger meals into smaller meals throughout the day. And when I was having what I thought was healthy, they were still mostly sugar. Maybe it was, I always got my 5 fruits and vegetables in. It was like 4 fruits and 1 vegetable. And, all of this information is so helpful, but also I say, even with just this information, I also needed a tool so that my mind could shift as far as portion sizes and what I could actually function on. And so that's what came to mind as we were going through this chapter for me.
Yeah, who here has adopted a timing strategy where you set a countdown timer on your phone? I do a countdown timer. I go, "Hey Siri, countdown timer 3 hours," and she goes, "I got it for you, Craig," or whatever she says, and I do that every day. And I've been using this strategy for 6.5 years.
I love it. I love how your series sounds like Lorraine Jenkins.
Yeah.
I love it. Sorry.
She's actually British, oddly enough. I just can't do it.
Hey, Lorraine, come off mute and say, "I got it for you, Craig," in your normal voice. Do it. Come on.
Here,
not coming out. There you go.
You like my southern twang?
So say it. Say, "I got it for you, Craig."
Got it for you, Craig.
Come on. Tell me that wasn't it.
Funny.
We love it.
Craig, darling.
Yeah, that's right. So Chelsea, you had Chelsea's on, and she sent me a suggestion of something that she does, and let's see here. Let me find it. Here we go. Well, it looks like I'm not going to be able to find it right now. So, anyway, there is this way of being able to set your fuelings up. One thing that I did early on is I set them up in my calendar and as alarms. And then one day I got up a little earlier, and so then the alarms were all off for the day, and I went, "Oh, that wasn't so good." So then I went and I set little alarms actually just on the phone, and they were all specific times. And so then, of course, if I'm a little late or a little early, then that was off. So literally the easiest thing for me is just to do the countdown timer and I do 2.5 hours. It gives me a little buffer. If I'm a little hungry before it goes off, I can still eat. I got a half-hour buffer. If it goes off and I'm not quite hungry yet or I'm busy, I'll just set a quick 30-minute one. But it's so nice to be able to just do it with your voice. Countdown timer, 3 hours or 2.5. And that's been a strategy that I've used because I get busy sometimes and I forget to eat, or it's not urgent. And then it becomes quite urgent. As your blood sugar drops, so does your IQ.
You know what you're talking about right now is becoming a structural coach. And a lot of times we get stuck in the emotional coaching. "Oh, you can do this," or, your why, which is great because we have to have that, but then we don't turn it into structure like that. And so these little things are so worth making a habit of for ourselves as a coach, or if you're not a coach, just in your life, and not to leave that behind until that's implemented. And it may take some reminders from a coach to that person to check and see, are they still using that? Because the best of us, until it's implemented and launched into orbit as a automatic, can fall away.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right, guys. Well, that's going to conclude our chapter 6, the blueprint for safe and rapid weight loss. It's also not only just for weight loss, but it's for sustaining weight. One thing I've been thinking about this week is often what happens is we get good at weight loss. Actually, we're all good at weight gain. Almost everybody's good at weight gain. And then some people have effective weight loss strategies. So they either know how to gain it or lose it, but they don't know how to sustain it. And so by using these particular strategies, not only do we use some of these strategies to lose the weight, but then we redeploy those strategies in a slightly tweaked way to sustain a healthy weight. And oh my goodness, if you're able to live at a healthy weight for an extended period of time, your body just starts to thrive. I mean, it is unbelievable. It just gets better and better. So I want to invite you to join us again next week for our Health Coach Huddle, the Crave Optimal Health podcast, where we're going to be doing chapter 7. And I thank you all for your attention and your participation today. Have a good week.